Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to move on to Lisa Janairo. She is representing District 6.
Well, actually, I'm Lisa Janairo, and I'm running for City Council in District 6.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, excuse me.
That's okay. You get points for getting my last name correctly. That's important. So I'm Lisa Janairo. I'm running for City Council because I have a passion for helping people and a commitment to our community. I volunteer at MOM. I chair the city's sustainability committee, and I'm a member of the Middleton Equity Connection. Just over 1 year ago, I retired early from a demanding and rewarding career, and I made public policy the focus of my graduate school training and my nearly 30-year career because government matters to me. I'm sure everyone here tonight is concerned about gerrymandering and how it retains the Republican majority in the legislature by creating safe seats. Well, the safest seat in any election is one that's uncontested, and that has been the case for the past 7 elections in District 6. Government matters to me, and I'm passionate about helping people, so I decided to get my name on the ballot, if only to give voters a choice. But I have much more than that to offer. I have the skills, the dedication, the experience, vision, and the temperament to make a very effective alder. If the voters of District 6 will give me a chance, I promise I'll do an excellent job representing you on City Council. All members of council are responsible for the same day-to-day actions, things like attending meetings, making sure potholes are filled, approving agreements and budgets, and adopting ordinances and resolutions. As I approach every decision, I'll look to my constituents for their input. I'll also try to advance our city's goals for sustainability and equity, and I'll emphasize the need for our city government to be accountable to the people. Sustainability, equity, and accountability are the themes of my campaign. Promoting each of them means changing our mindset as individuals and changing how our city does business. It means being focused on the future, on new ways of doing things as the world changes around us. We can't go forward as a community if we're looking to the past and continuing to do business as usual. To illustrate, I mentioned the Sustainability Committee. Right now, our committee is the green box in the city's organization chart. That may have worked in the past, but now with the very dire and worsening threat of climate change, being sustainable, that is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, that takes a team effort. Every elected official, the entire staff, all our committees, our residents, developers, business leaders, faith leaders, everybody needs to be involved. We need every box in the city's organization chart to have green in it. When we continue to do business as usual, we're missing opportunities to bring about the vision of Middleton as a sustainable city. And the same applies to equity. If we want to achieve our vision as a city that strives for equitable opportunities and outcomes for all people, we need to think differently about the decisions we make and the things we do. Every action, policy, and investment is an opportunity to make Middleton more sustainable and equitable, but only if we look for those opportunities and then take them. I'll always be looking for opportunities, and I'll do my best to persuade council and the city staff to take them. And that brings me to accountability. We deserve a government that works for us, a government where elected officials work in our best interests, where they reach out to us, meet with us, listen to our concerns, and base their decisions on our input. This kind of representation is not what we have in District 6. I respect Alder Susan West for her many years of service to this community, but holding office isn't an entitlement, it's a privilege, and every elected official needs to understand that their job is to represent their constituents. I do understand that. If elected, I'm committed to being accountable to the residents of District 6. I've already opened up lines of communication with a monthly e-newsletter and my website, lisajforalder.com. I'm going door to door throughout the district and attending meet the candidate sessions because I believe that knowing what residents think and what matters to them will make me a better representative of the people and a better resource to them. What I'm describing is the kind of representative I want to have on City Council. If elected, I'll be that kind of representative. So if you live in the district and want an alder who's accessible and responsive and wants to be a resource to you, then the choice is clear. It's time for a change. When you cast your vote in the spring election, I urge you to vote for change and vote Janairo. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Now we're going to hear from Susan West, who is the councilwoman in District 6.
Thank you. I am running for re-election as the alderwoman representing District 6. 14 years ago, our past alderman, who had worked with me in restoring, I don't understand the noise, who had worked with me in restoring the Middleton Hills Oak Savanna, asked me to run. I am a retired microbiology professor from the University of Wisconsin School of Veterinary Medicine. I taught veterinary microbiology, mentored many graduate students, and conducted research. I am a member of the Friends of Pheasant Branch and the Clean Lakes Alliance. While on City Council, I have served on a wide range of committees. Currently, I am on Public Works, Emergency Medical Services, Pedestrian, Bicycle, and Transit, Conservancy Lands, and the Stormwater Utility Board. I regularly attend the Finance and Personnel meetings so that I am fully informed on these important issues. I have also served as the council president. The Middleton Cross Plains Area School District asked me to serve on the Partnership for Student Support. Additionally, I serve on the Dane County Lakes and Watershed Commission, where I write the budget document that is submitted to the county board and county executive each year. My most important accomplishment while on City Council has been the establishment of a stormwater utility. I organized the Ad Hoc Stormwater Maintenance Committee, and together we designed a utility to meet the stormwater needs of the city while still being affordable. I enlisted the aid of the Friends of Pheasant Branch to assist with publicizing the value of the utility. After the 2018 flood, I convinced the Common Council that we should increase the utility rate so that we could repair the damage not covered by FEMA. I am grateful to our citizens for overwhelmingly passing these referendums. This is a very democratic way to spend the city's money. I especially enjoy giving back to my community. I have served on the Middleton Hills Neighborhood Association Board and on the Architectural Review Board. This past year, I mentored a neighborhood teenager who restored the Northside Elementary School Prairie for the Girl Scout Gold Award. I want to thank the many city leaders who I have worked with and who have endorsed me. Their former Mayor Kurt Sonnentag, former police chiefs Brad Kyle and Chuck Falk, all members of the current City Council, and District 6 residents Kurt Paulson, who is a Plan Commission member, Don Canor, who is president of the Middleton Hills Neighborhood Association and serves with me on the Public Works Committee, Jim Bachhuber, who is a member of both the Water Resources Committee and Stormwater Utility Board. I am very grateful for their support and their confidence in my abilities. I have several priorities for the city of Middleton. Our biggest challenge is the levy limit restrictions placed on all municipalities by state government in 2011. Because of this, many services have not expanded as Middleton has grown. I support a November referendum to provide funds for additional city staff. This is the most democratic way for citizens to participate in decision-making. Maintenance and repair of our roads is a top priority and always has been, as is timely snow plowing. Because of the skilled work of our first responders, we survived the historic flood of 2018 and the tragic Paradigm shooting. Because of our recent growth, we need a greater police presence to deter car thefts, break-ins, and reckless driving. In Middleton Hills, there has been at least 5 car thefts or break-ins in the last few years. Our police force is committed to the community policing method. The city will need to add a 3rd ambulance. EMS calls have risen 20% in the last few years. The cost of the ambulance itself is huge, and so is the cost of 24/7 staffing. And we need to start budgeting now to cover these costs in the future. I have quite a few priorities for District 6 specifically. I want to assure that the proposed Bell Farms and Acre Farm housing developments have no significant negative effects on our nearby neighborhoods, the Pheasant Branch Conservancy and Graver Pond. Specifically, I am committed and have already begun working on being sure that Bellefontaine Boulevard remains a 2-lane road with many traffic calming amenities added to it to help slow traffic. And I want to be certain that when the two neighborhoods are built, we annex High Road into the city, or yes, annex it in, that we will be able to add sidewalks on both sides of our streets so our children can get to school safely. And I am looking forward to completion of the Conservancy Trailhead on Century Avenue near Branch Street. This is something I have thought about since I first moved to Middleton in 1990, seeing the very degraded old houses there and thinking the beautiful Conservancy needs to have something beautiful next to it. So the trailhead will provide a much needed
Susan, your
shelter.
time's up.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Susan. The question is, what is the number one issue for the city of Middleton right now? And so we're going to start with Susan this time.
Thank you. I think I've already mentioned it. The number one issue I see is the levy limit. And I've explained it to many of my constituents back in 2011, the state government changed the laws regulating the levy, which is the total amount of money we take in from property taxes. And they took away the ability to increase the levy for inflation. So Middleton luckily has had a significant amount of growth. So we've been able to cover inflation for the last 10 years and have a little left over for expansion. But with the pandemic, growth has slowed down significantly. So we're no longer taking in sufficient revenue to fund the additional staff that we need. And so our city staff are currently very, very overworked, and we're not able to get as much done as we need. So council has already voted to go to referendum this November and asking for $500,000 to hire new staff. I'm hopeful that we can hire some police officers, but we need other staff members too. And so I would be very thankful to our citizens if they will approve this. For an average city home, it's going to be about $68 added to a $400,000 if you own a $400,000 home to your property tax bill. So a very small, not too large increase, but certainly will help in terms of keeping the city functioning at the level that we function at. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Sure.
Lisa, the same question to you.
Sure, thank you. Well, I'm going to take it a bit more global and then go local. For me, the number one issue would have to be climate change. In 2016, 81% of Middleton residents approved or voted in a referendum that they wanted to see the city take more action to combat climate change. And in 2018, the council unanimously passed a resolution that set a goal of achieving 100% renewable energy for our entire community, not just city government, but the entire community by the year 2050. We have excellent staff in Kelly Hilliard and others in the planning department. And so thanks to them, we've made some progress in installing solar, for example, on city buildings and incentivizing certain developments to incorporate sustainable practices. But I don't think council has done enough, intentionally done enough to make sure that they're following through on this commitment. Kendra mentioned the plans that we have. We have a very good comprehensive plan This year, the Sustainability Committee, with my leadership, we're rewriting the Sustainable City Plan, and we're focusing on achieving the goal of 100% renewable energy. We'd like to back it up to 2040 instead of 2050, because that's how severe the situation is with climate change. And we're trying to make sure that those plans, both the energy plan, the comprehensive plan, and ultimately the strategic plan, are source material for the actions we're going to be undertaking. And the public will soon have a chance to review our draft sustainable city plan, because we really need to work as a team to get to that 100% renewable goal.
All right, thanks, Lisa. Now, there seems to be a lot of development going on in Middleton currently. Are we overbuilding? How would you balance growth with the pressure that development brings on areas like traffic and infrastructure? And so next we are going to hear from Lisa.
Thank you. Well, it does often seem like the city is developing every last bit of open space that isn't in the Conservancy. And I grew up in the Chicago suburbs, and I've seen what happens when literally everything gets built up. Places that would have been deemed undesirable just because of their location near major roads, it's all built up. So I would love to see the city follow the land use strategies in the comprehensive plan. This is something I'll be coming back to a lot. We have these plans, let's use them. And there are two strategies in particular. One is to promote compact growth strategies to preserve farmland and natural resources, and also encourage transportation alternatives, like we were talking earlier about transit. And then also to maintain 25% permanent public open space to promote the health and well-being of people and the natural environment. I feel strongly that we need to have a community conversation about how to address our need for additional housing while still preserving the things that we love about Middleton, our open spaces and our ability to get around. I think residents and employers both deserve a seat at the table. And I would love to see more of our development require sustainable practices, such as stormwater retention and solar. I mean, when you think about the new developments going up, Bell Farm is sort of like the gold standard in design. And the Acre Farm has some room for improvement. It's in the very early stages. But these are places where there aren't a lot of trees, right? Because it's farmland. And we should absolutely be working to incorporate solar as much as possible on and orienting the lots and the structures so that they'll have the greatest insulation possible. I'd love to see the city adopt a policy to have TIF funding contingent upon adopting such sustainable practices. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Finally, we'll hear from Susan.
Okay, thank you. One of the things I'd like to say is that I learned for a long time my time on city council has been that Middleton actually has more jobs than it has residents, which is part of what causes our housing problems. So if we're going to be sustainable, we need to be able to provide housing for quite a few of these people that do work here in Middleton, so they don't have to travel in. We also have to be very careful of not expanding out into some incredibly valuable farmland. And specifically, I'm talking about the area north of the airport. It is some of the richest farmland in the country. It has been compared by one UW faculty member to Crimea. And we're learning right now about how the Ukraine is really the breadbasket for the whole world. So we have to use our resources very responsibly in terms of infill development, going with taller buildings. I am actually surprised that we're going to be able to possibly have 2 developments with single-family homes north of Middleton Hills, the Acre Development and Bell Farms. We do need to work on keeping them or making sure that they are done in a very sustainable way. with plenty of open space. An example would be Middleton Hills, which has over 25% of the neighborhood land is in parkland or city conservancy land. So that would be a good way to do it. Good zoning laws are going to be important. And one of the big things I'm concerned about is we need to be sure that we are spreading the housing developments throughout the whole city and not concentrating apartments just in one long area.
Okay, thank you, Susan. We're going to move on to our third question now. And that is, where do you stand on the Maury Airport expansion and why? And Lisa?
Well, I would have voted against the resolution to incorporate the expansion options into the master plan. I think in its current configuration, Maury Airport is a great asset to the community. Members or residents who live here and others can learn about aviation and develop new skills, and there are events that are open to the public. So it's a great asset. But I don't see how investing in airport expansion would advance our city's goals on sustainability or equity. And sustainability, I've observed that as of now, the airport seems to take a pass on that. But the 100% renewable energy goal by 2050 applies to the entire community. And if Maury Airport is part of our community, and I hope it stays part of our community, they too will have to figure out how to make the shift to clean, renewable sources of energy. Our resources as a city are scarce. We heard about the limits on tax levies. So we need to make sure we're examining how we spend our money. I believe in listening to the people and making decisions based on what they say. The city went to great pains to do a survey, which they described as being scientifically robust, and 78% of residents preferred no changes to runways, 62% preferred no changes to hangars, and a majority was against taking farmland for expansion. If there were a dire need for this for safety reasons, I could understand wanting to go forward with expansion, but in the city's own survey of users, 93% said that the current runway does not pose any constraints to their operations, and 84% rated the existing runway length to be either excellent or good. So I don't see the need. I do see the impact on residents in Middleton Hills. And I feel like if we can do anything to improve people's quality of life, we should explore those options. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Lisa. Thanks. Susan, I'm sorry I skipped over you and said Emily was our final speaker, but you will be our final council candidate speaking tonight.
Yes, the airport has unfortunately been an incredibly controversial topic with much misinformation spread out there. I am glad we passed the master plan. There's multiple options in it, one of which is not to do anything at all, the no build option. Other options were to expand the east-west runway 200 to 400 feet for safety reasons, still keeping it on the footprint of the airport. A third option is to build consider building more hangars. There is a demand for them. I have considerable concerns that they would have to be built in such a way that it doesn't have an impact on stormwater. So we need additional stormwater facilities out there. And then the fourth option is one that would be the most expensive, but by having the airport master plan and the airport layout plan makes us eligible for funding from the FAA. And that would be to move the north-south runway slightly north and pave it. And that will take the noise away from Middleton Hills and both the town of Middleton, especially for the training facilities. I could consider that. It has a big negative in that we will need to purchase a small amount of farmland. And as I said, that's very valuable farmland. I have concerns over that. At the moment, I am currently and have always been in favor of, and have told my constituents that the no build option is one that I completely support. And we will have to wait and see what council does with it in the future. Approving the plan did not commit us to anything. It simply enabled us, or will enable us in the future, to get funding from the FAA.
All right, thank you, Susan. Okay, let's start with Lisa this time. The question is going to be, how would you address the concern of rising crime, car thefts, home break-ins in Middleton?
Well, speaking from District 6, we're fortunate to have a very low crime rate here. I think one of the things I would like to see is more education of residents. I know anybody who's gone on to Nextdoor will often see concerns expressed about somebody breaking into a home, and then it always turns out, or often turns out to be, that somebody left their car door unlocked and their garage door opener was in there, and so made it easy. So I would love to see more education of residents to help us all be a part of the solution.
All right, thanks, Lisa. Susan, you're going to be next.
Okay, thank you. There have been quite a bit of crimes here. I know I've had my garage door tried to break into, where someone took a crowbar and tried to pull it up, even though it was locked. We definitely need more police officers. They do community policing. They used to do, when we had more officers, they would go around and check cars to be sure they were locked. And if they were locked, you got a nice Post-it note saying you passed. But we need police officers so we can do that.